What's going on, everyone? Welcome on into a live edition of the Cleveland Browns Report. We have lots to discuss on today's show. We're going to talk a little draft. We're going to talk about the new stadium and the development on that front. And then we're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about, since we have a mailbag as always. So an opportunity for you guys to get on screen and kind of be the pilot of the show. So before we get into the nuts and bolts, I do like to get the audience building up for the first 3 to 5 minutes, because I know not everyone is always on time. Plus, I don't even think we can count ourselves on time. We're early today. So it's like a good football coach right there, right? What's the expression? If you're on time, you're 5 minutes late. And if you know what I'm talking about?
Well,
How does it go verbatim?
so it's if you're early, you're on time.
Yeah.
If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, it's unacceptable.
We had one like it was like that, but it was like more specific. Like if you're on time, you're 5 minutes late. If you're 5 minutes late, you're not even here. Anywho, so shout out your city for me though. Let me know where you're tuning in from. We've got over 80 people watching right from the jump, and I don't want to lose any of you guys, so we're not going to dilly dally much longer. Where is everyone watching from? Roy is in Berlin. I've got Kathy in Sacramento. North Korea in the house. Wow. Raid, yo, can I get a shout out? I'm a Browns fan. Shout out to you. We've got David tuning in from Minster. Denver's here. Tone, is this Tony P watching from Massachusetts? Sean is in Canton, Ohio. We've got Jeremy Stallman with a $50 super chat. Not in a weird way, but I was thinking about you, Jeremy, like 2 or 3 days ago, because I thought we haven't seen Jeremy, I feel like, since the draft, but I'm sure he's just busy flying around the country. And sure enough, Jeremy Stallman dropping a $50 super chat just to get the party started. Shout out to you, Jeremy. Everyone show Jeremy some love in the chat if you haven't already. As Jeremy tunes in from Pittsburgh, I've got Dylan watching from Mayfield Heights. And I've got Jeremy Stallman, nuts and bolts to what? Let's go. Nuts and bolts to what? Let's go. We are at 38,000 feet, dropping dimes. Let's go, Browns. Should we play a game? Where is Jeremy Stallman flying to? What's your pick right now?
It's funny because I could be like, oh, he's over North Carolina, now South Carolina.
Yeah. I know Jeremy is based out of, believe, Nashville. So I'm going to stick in that neck of the woods. Maybe I just play the odds because Love Field's very big for Southwest. I'm going to go with Jeremy's going to Midway. He's going to Chicago right now. Where do you think he's off to?
I think he's going to Arizona.
You think Arizona?
Yeah.
Phoenix?
Mhm.
Okay. My backup would have been Vegas. A lot of flights to Vegas. All right, Jeremy, you let me know where you're flying to right now, and we can start getting the wheels moving. But Jeremy, $50 super chat. Thank you so much for your support of the channel. As always, everyone, spam Jeremy in the chat. Nearly 100 people tuned in right now, just 28 likes. Can we get to 30 likes before we start our first segment for today's live show? If you haven't yet, scroll on down, do me a big favor, and click that thumbs up button. Buddy Bear with a $5. Oh, I like it already. Trivia. I stopped reading after that because I just wanted to read it on screen with you all for the first time. So, Buddy Bear, a Raiders fan here at Chat Sports and a bit of just a Chat Sports legend across the board, getting a super chat to get on screen. Little trivia for you. Where was the first light up high school football game played in 1925? That's where I'm watching from. Trying to think about this from like a logical perspective. Where would the first stadium with lights be? I would think that this would have been played in a baseball field because that's where most sporting events were played. Like football teams played in baseball stadiums in the early goings. So I'm thinking Buddy Bear's watching at a baseball field right now. And I don't know the first ballpark to get lights. I'm going to make an educated guess and say, yeah, but I'm saying a high school game was played at a baseball field that had lights. Because no high school just got lights in 1925. They didn't have running water for all the high schools then. So, first ballpark to get lights, I think might be that's still around. Because I was like, oh, it could be.
I'm just gonna go with.
It could be the Polo Grounds. You think
Kansas.
Kauffman?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, give me. Oh, this is tough. I'm overthinking it right now. I'm gonna go with. No, that's too new. I'll go with Yankee Stadium. No, can't be that because that's like 10 years old. I'm drowning right now. I don't think this is 1925 old, but I'm gonna go with PNC Park. I'll go with PNC Park in Pittsburgh, although I'm not very confident that that was around in 1925. But I know both Shea Stadium and Yankee Stadium definitely weren't around. I'm pretty sure the bank where the Phillies play was built like 25 years ago, right? So that rules that one out. And I'm just focusing on the East Coast right now. All right, we got a Jeremy Stallman $10 super chat. Buddy Bear, I look forward to the answer. Well, Sacramento up to Spokane, back to Sacramento, and up in Long Beach, California today. You are all over the West Coast, so we were not really in the right neighborhood at all. But it's tough when you don't know where you're starting from. Nevertheless, Jeremy, thank you so much for your super chat, as always. Can't wait to hang out with you and everyone else during the draft, which is just over 3 weeks away. 3 weeks from tomorrow, round 1 of the NFL draft gets here, and I'm stoked because the Browns are back into round number 1, have not been there since selecting Greg Newsome in 2021. So we finally get to be a part of the fun, which is the NFL draft. All right, where do you want the Browns to play? In the suburbs? At the lakefront? Where would you like to see the next Browns stadium be built? I personally have shifted completely 180 from lakefront to Brook Park. And I don't believe the city of Cleveland will probably do much with that current real estate, as they should, but I think Brook Park is the best thing right now for the Browns. I'm looking at it from the team mindset. Is it best for what the city wants? No, not of course not. Is it best for local businesses around the stadium? No, it's not, and I understand that. But if I'm thinking what is best for the Cleveland Browns, I would think it's a dome stadium in Brook Park. So we're going to talk about that, get some stadium news, and then we're going to talk about a dream draft that I think has more legs to it than even I want to give it credit for. And I'm the one talking about it. And then a mailbag. So get your questions in right now. Use hashtag Browns or Super Chat. I put that link in the comments and description of today. I keep saying that. It's just like a roll off the tongue thing, as if it's a Fanatics read. You got to put hashtag Browns in the comment section to get on screen. So include it somewhere in your question or super chat. And you've seen from Jeremy Stallman and Buddy Bear, you skipped the line. Okay, did we ever get an answer, by the way, from Buddy Bear? Wyoming? Okay, so I went about it wrong because Buddy Bear, I thought I knew you were from Wyoming because I used to help Mitch with a lot of the shipping stuff for Raiders. And I just felt like, no, it's got to be East Coast and a stadium there. Is it Casper? Are you at what's the stadium in Casper? It's the Cheney Field, Dick Cheney Field. Let me know where you're tuning. I've been to that stadium before, and I don't remember seeing a sign of this was the first stadium with a light up football game.
I wonder if it's not necessarily that like park, but like where it was. Like it not necessarily like a specific park. It's just the state where the first high school football game under the lights was played.
Yeah. Are you, Buddy Bear, north of Casper, like in Gillette? Let me know where you're watching from right now. You said you're at the stadium at the moment, so I was just curious which one it was. All right, let's get into the show. We have 100 people watching on the dot, so we don't need to keep you guys hostage for any longer. Let's talk all about the stadium news and update because there's a lot of ground to cover on that front. So, Reed, I am ready when you are. I just want to make sure I've got my ducks in a row. Come on. All right, I am prepared. Good Boy Scout over here now. You ready? All right, here we go. Let's talk all about the next Brown Stadium potentially. we have a major development on the stadium side for the Cleveland Browns. It's a little bit, I won't say boring, but I guess boring is probably the best way to put it, to be honest with you. But I do think it's important to fill you guys in on what's going on because despite it being boring, I'm going to do my absolute best to simplify it in a way where maybe you can comprehend it a little bit easier, and then you're the smartest person in your friend group when people talk about the stadium, and you go, well, actually, here's what's really going on. So let's start with what's going on in Columbus, because the lawmakers convened and they did one of two things. One, they submitted a proposal for the budget, which is going to be approved sometime towards the end of June, and that proposal included $600 million in bonds for a domed stadium in Brook Park, which is good news for the Haslam Group because this has support from Columbus to put money, taxpayer money, into a dome stadium outside of Cleveland. Now, Governor Mike DeWine, he had his proposal cut, which was a double tax on current gaming in Ohio. And as someone who likes to gamble, I'm not too upset about this part right here. So I know that the easy solution to finding more money is always just like increase taxes. And I'm not here to do a political debate with anyone about it, but I think it's always a nice thing when politicians find a way to find money that it just doesn't result in just increasing more taxes. So with this being said, if you go back to a few months ago when the Browns put out their latest renderings, and they put out so many it's kind of hard to keep up with, in those renderings, they were estimating a cost of $3.2 billion. They themselves were willing to pay $2 billion of that $3.4 billion. So the Browns were seeking $1.2 billion in bonds from the state, the city, the county, some type of collection and combination. Well, they're about to get $600 million, which they may not get all $1.2 billion, but they're going to get a lot of it. And this, in my eyes, is a huge step forward to a shovel going in the ground in Brook Park to begin construction on a new Cleveland Browns stadium. Now, Haslam was in Florida this past week for the NFL owners meeting, and he talked about this, and he said that if this gets done, I'm going to read it verbatim, it'll come down to whether Ohio lawmakers approve this $600 million. If so, expect shovels to be in the ground as early as not even this time next year, but like January or February of 2026. Now, not a construction guy, but digging into the ground in the winter seems difficult. So that might be a little bit metaphorical, but nevertheless, any construction guys, feel free to chime in. If this gets done at the end of June and this gets approved by the budget or by the lawmakers in the budget for the upcoming spending spree from the federal government to the state government, then we are looking at a new stadium in Brook Park here sooner rather than later. Now, we're going to get to more on this in just a second, including what Haslam called Plan B if this doesn't get approved when they reconvene for a budget meeting in June. What does that look like? Well, we're going to talk about that next. But first things first, I do want to fill you guys in on a great deal going on over at Fanatics. It's not $600 million. It's actually way less than that. And it's the Browns draft hat, which I think this guitar emblem on the side is pretty awesome. So I put this link for you all in the comment section, chatsports.com/CLE draft. So if you want to get some Browns draft gear before day one kicks off, which is just 3 weeks away and change, chatsports.com/CLE draft. Now, it's important to remember the Cleveland side of the equation because Mayor Bibb of Cleveland, remember, sued the Browns for violation of the Art Modell law. So if we don't get, well, I say we, by we I mean the Browns, if the Browns don't get $600 million in bonds from the folks down in Columbus, Haslam said Plan B will turn to renovating the current stadium. It's pretty much been shot down whether or not the Browns could tear down the current stadium and build a new one in that same spot. That is not going to happen. So it's either one of two options. New stadium in Brook Park, renovated stadium at its current location. And I don't think anyone, well, I shouldn't say anyone, because I'm sure there's lots of people who do want that option. I personally don't. But I understand why season ticket holders, because they're the ones that have to pay for extremely expensive seat licenses at the new stadium, or local businesses around the stadium don't want the Browns to pick up and move to Brook Park. So those folks out there, I understand your frustrations, and I'm not going to try and convince you to come to my side. I'm not in your shoes, so it does not impact me, but I understand how you would be upset about this. And I'm looking at it through the lens of what is best for the Cleveland Browns. And personally, I think it is best for the team to get a dome stadium in Brook Park. But going back to Mayor Bibb, because he's suing the Browns for violating the evil Art Modell law, which here's what it says. I'll let you guys kind of read it to yourself because it's got a lot of just mumbo jumbo and politic talk. But there are two key parts I want to highlight that I will read to you. So when talking about how to avoid violating the Art Modell law, it says either A, enters into an agreement with the political subdivision permitting the team to play most of its home games elsewhere. They are not getting permission from the political subdivision to do that. Or B, gives the political subdivision in which the facility is located not less than 6 months advance notice of the owner's intention to cease playing most of its home games at the facility, and during the 6 months after such notice, gives the political subdivision or any individual or group of individuals who reside in the area the opportunity to purchase the team. I've said this before, but I'll say it again, and this might be really dumb. Why don't the Browns just do that? Why don't they give someone in the area the opportunity to purchase the team for $5 billion? I don't think they're going to find any buyers. So the city would have 6 months, right? Did I read that correctly? To find someone in the area to purchase the team. If the Browns comply with that part right there, and the city can't find a buyer, then the Browns are kind of off the hook here. Now, if the city does find a buyer, which I don't know many people in the area that's got $5 billion ready to whip up and buy the team, because it's not like Jeff Bezos can come in there, right? It says in the area. So if the city then goes outside of the area to find a buyer to keep them at the lakefront, the Browns can sue the city for violating their own law. Now, I don't think that's ever going to happen, like in terms of getting to the stage of, all right, fine, you guys have 6 months to find a buyer, because I don't think the Jimmy Haslam group wants to go down that rabbit hole. But it doesn't seem like the worst idea if this law ends up being applied to the Browns and it gets in the way of them moving, to then comply with the law. Give them 6 months. See what they can do. They're not going to find anyone. Am I missing a $5 billionaire in the Cleveland area? Sherwin-Williams got that money? I don't think so. So, not a bad idea. Well, maybe a bad idea, but in my mind right now, not the worst idea. So we'll kind of wrap up with this. Where do you want the Browns to play? Is it where they currently play, in Brook Park? I have made a complete 180. I've said this before on the channel. I was team no dome, lakefront. It's a great flyover scenery, and it's awesome to have the stadium in the city. And all that went out the window when the Saints came to Cleveland in December in -5 degrees and beat the Browns to knock them out of the playoffs. If you can't beat New Orleans at home in December outdoors, why do we believe that this is some kind of advantage for Cleveland? It's not. They're losing, and we're all cold. If you're going to lose, at least be comfortable. So I switched over literally the moment the Saints beat the Browns. And I was like, this is pointless. It'd be one thing if the Browns kept their playoff hopes alive because they used the cold weather to their advantage because they are more accustomed to it than New Orleans. But a bunch of guys who hang out in the swamp that practice indoors came to Cleveland and beat the crap out of them. It was not like if the score was close, but the game never felt close. All right, let's wrap up the video by picking a card. Which card do you want to go with, Mr. Reed Bartkus?
Let's go with Jack of Spades.
Mm-hmm. All right, you said Jack of Spades? I'm going to go with the audible. Give me the 10 of diamonds. 10 of hearts. That's tough. That is tough. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Click that like button on your way out, and I'll see everyone next time. So where does everyone want the Browns to play? Anyone get it right? Oh, I think Kathy. 10 of clubs. Oh, you and me, Kathy. Both of us right off the back iron. And I meant to also add this. We got some super chats too. Awesome. I think those that oppose a dome stadium will change their mind the moment they walk into the new stadium and go, "This is awesome. This is a coliseum, and I am very happy the Browns did this." For me, it kind of felt like when the MLB switched to a pitch clock. I was very much against it because I felt like Major League Baseball was catering to an audience that didn't exist. They were like, we're going to bend over backwards for people that don't watch baseball. And we're going to alienate those that do watch baseball. And then the first game, I was like, this is awesome. Hand up, I'm very happy to admit I was wrong about this. And I think the same thing's going to happen when this dome stadium is built. Dolphin X with a $10 super chat. Do you like the idea of the Browns drafting Carter at 2 and then us trading our second-round pick to move up a few spots to get Sanders? Dolphin, I think you're going to like the next video because that is exactly what this video is about. But the short answer is yes. Not like enthusiastic, but yes. Austin, what's going on, dude? Hi, Petey. Let's go Abdul Carter and Kirk Cousins. Also, could Donovan Peoples-Jones be an option for the Browns at receiver? Let me answer this question, Austin, during our mailbag. I'll give you a full answer on it during the mailbag so it can be part of that video. But, Austin, thank you so much for the super chat. If you have a question, super chat, skip the line, guarantee it hops on screen. Otherwise, go hashtag Browns in the chat, and Reed will pick his favorite question. So no guarantee he picks yours, but a guarantee that your question will be on screen, whether it's a question, an idea, a take, if you super chat. All right, are we ready to jump into our next segment, which is literally exactly what Dolphin X just asked me about? I was thinking about it yesterday, Dolphin X, and then yesterday we had some other topics to discuss, and I was like, oh, I'll push this off until Wednesday, and here we are.
Jake Heat, that's a great question. Copy and paste that, and then put hashtag Browns either before or after, and we'll use that in the mailbag. Just copy and paste it and put it right back in to the chat, and our software will pick that up, and I'll use that for the mailbag because that's a good question.
120 people tuned in right now. We have 59 likes. I want one more person to like our stream to get us to 60, and then we can start the next segment because my YouTube just crashed out on me anyway.
Dolphin X said, screw the mailbag. I get a whole segment.
Dolphin, I think you're going to be mind blown because I swear I did not just whip this together right after you super chatted it. Takes a little bit more time than that. All right, we got to 64 likes, so let's get into it. You ready? Here we go. On today's episode, I want to talk about a best case scenario, an opportunity for both sides of the Browns fan base when it comes to what to do at pick number 2 to be happy. To quote the El Paso taco commercial, why not both? Why not get Abdul Carter and Shedeur Sanders? So we're going to talk about A, how realistic that is, and B, how it could happen. Let's look at the NFL draft order, and let's start 1 through 8. A lot of people have speculated that the floor for Shedeur Sanders is around 7. That there's no way the Jets let Shedeur Sanders get past them. I'm not so convinced about that, and there's a few reasons why. One, they have a whole new front office there when it comes to head coach and GM. I think if they had the previous regime, there might be a little bit more pressure to go out and get a quarterback in round 1 because that way they can tell ownership, don't fire us yet. We just drafted a new quarterback. Give us a full year with this quarterback. Instead, you've got a brand new GM from Denver and Gerard Mayo, a head coach from Detroit. I think they are probably interested in just getting the best player. And I don't believe at 7 Shedeur Sanders will be viewed as the best player. They also just sunk $40 million into Justin Fields. They have Tyrod Taylor on the roster as well. I could see the Jets just going with Tyler Warren or an offensive lineman and saying, hey, we don't feel the pressure to reach on a quarterback, so we're just going to do what's best for our team long term because we're not in the hot seat right now. So moving on, if Sanders were to get past, say, the Giants at 3 because they signed Russell Wilson and they want to go with Travis Hunter and he gets past the Jets at 7, let's look at 9 through 16. Saints is a possibility. Not going to lie, Derek Carr, the honeymoon's kind of over there, but also new head coach. He went there in part because of Derek Carr. I think he might want to add a piece that could help him immediately and not a flyer-ish on a quarterback. Bears no, Niners no, Cowboys no, Dolphins no, Colts maybe because Anthony Richardson has not worked out super well, but I just don't think so. And I say that because I think because of the way Richardson kind of flamed out, they may decide, hey, let's not kind of just swing for a quarterback again. Let's go with a more safe, best player available option. Falcons no, Cardinals no, Bengals no, Seahawks probably not, right? They got Darnold there. Unless they fall in love with him, I think not. Bucks no, Broncos no. Steelers is a possibility. If Aaron Rodgers decides to retire, Pittsburgh needs a quarterback, and even if they do get Rodgers, they might want to bring Shedeur to sit for a year, but I don't get the sense that Shedeur would be a Mike Tomlin type quarterback from his play style and a little bit of the spotlight he carries. I could be just trying to, morph the next quarterback for them into being another Ben Roethlisberger, which that's not going to happen, but I just think not. Chargers no, Packers no, Vikings no. Wait a minute. Vikings. We'll circle back to the Vikings. Texans, no. When we get to the end of here, none of these teams need a quarterback. These are all teams that I think would be very open to trading out of the first round because it's not a very, star-studded draft class. I think there are some good depth positions in this class. I don't think it's like the weakest one ever, but it's not one of the stronger ones. And I could see one of those teams picking 25-ish to 32, getting more picks and just trading back. So one idea I cooked up was, how about the Browns and the Vikings make a deal where Cleveland jumps back into round 1 from their 33rd overall pick, gives Minnesota the pick they got from Buffalo for Amari Cooper late in the 3rd, and then tosses in a 6th rounder. According to the NFL trade value chart, this is actually a bit of an overpay for pick 24. And I could see the Vikings chomping at the bit here because Minnesota only has 4 draft picks. So they'd be turning 24 into 2 more top 100 picks and an extra day 3 pick. So I could see a lot of interest from the Vikings, and Andrew Berry has a good relationship with the Vikings GM, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, who used to work in Cleveland. So all this really comes down to one thing. Will Shedeur Sanders slide? I think there is a better chance of this happening than what people want to give it credit for. I think a lot of teams don't look at Shedeur as a first-round prospect, and I think there is some evidence of that by how aggressive some teams in search of a quarterback have been in the free agent market. Why did the Giants go out and sign Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson if they really want Shedeur Sanders? Doesn't seem like the Browns are going to take him at the moment. I think there is a lot of momentum behind Shedeur sliding a little bit. And the first 5 picks looking something like Cam Ward, Abdul Carter to the Browns, Travis Hunter to the Giants. The Patriots beef up their offensive line. The Jags take Mason Graham. They don't need a quarterback with Trevor Lawrence. And then at that point, it may be a little bit of a free fall for Shedeur. And I could see a team willing to trade back into round 1 to get Sanders so they can have that 5th-year option on him. I'm getting slight Will Levis vibes from Shedeur in terms of not his play style, but his profile, his stock right now going into the draft. Of no one really seems to say with much confidence they see him as a first-round quarterback, but he's just the second best quarterback in this class. And Well, we always have like at least 2 quarterbacks go in round 1, and usually at least 2 go in the top 10 to 15. I think there is a greater chance, and I'm willing to be wrong about this and laughed at in 3 weeks when the draft starts. So clip this and come back to it when the first round is over. I think there is a very, very good chance that Shedeur Sanders gets picked closer to 32 than pick number 1. Now, in this mock, I said the Browns get Abdul Carter at number 2. I don't want to gloss over that. There's something I want to talk about with Carter that I don't think we have given enough attention to. Abdul Carter, ladies and gentlemen, is just 21 years old. The biggest knock on him has been the lack of play strength. Like, can he really anchor down a defensive line? Can he be like a bull against the run? Can he just squat himself down and make sure no one gets past him? We know he's got the speed and the burst, but we haven't quite seen the pure raw strength. The guy's 21. How many 21-year-olds do you know are at their peak physical strength when they're just getting a real ID? I don't think there's many. I think we see this a lot in like baseball, for example, where when prospects are coming out, coming up and whatnot, when they're young, the bat speed isn't super high, and then as they get a little bit older, they start to put on some like man strength. And next thing you know, that bat speed is up, the exit velo is up, and they look like a real big leaguer. I think the only fair knock that you can come up with Abdul Carter on the field is the play strength. And I think at 21 years old, it's fair to assume when he's 24, 25 in a few years, he's going to have that figured out. So I love this selection for the Browns. I think pairing Carter with Myles Garrett, no, it does not translate to going 16, 17 and 0, whatever it may be, but I think it does give you the best player, and it puts an incredible defensive duo on your roster up front. And while I wish the Browns had the opportunity to solve their quarterback issues at pick number 2, I don't believe it's there. So because of that, I'm not going to force it. And I'm just going to put together the greatest defensive line in the National Football League. If you can't score points, I'm going to try my absolute best to stop the other team from scoring points. And that means putting Garrett and Carter opposite of each other, which we really never had a good Batman and Robin duo for Myles Garrett. Like, had it for Clowney for a minute, and then it just bottomed out. Kind of had it with Zadarius Smith, and then he's traded. I would love to see Garrett and Carter work side by side while Garrett's still in his prime for the next 5 years. And then at that point, Myles will be 34-ish years old, and Carter will be 26. And you kind of pass the torch from one defensive legend to another. Now, I understand that you still have to figure out the quarterback issue. I get that. I'm here to say for the 100,000th time, this is not a good offseason to need a quarterback. So I'm not going to waste the second overall pick because people online say, well, you're not going to score points with Abdul Carter. Yeah, I don't think you're going to score a lot of points with the other quarterback options out there as well. But I can sure as hell stop the other team from scoring points. Now, some Shedeur Sanders background, because in this idea, we're talking about trading up from pick 33 to get him in round number 1. You guys can look at his stats, and man, did he put together a really strong season in 2024 for Colorado. 4,100 yards, 41 total touchdowns. There's a lot to like about Shedeur's game. The accuracy is definitely on point. It's his calling card. The toughness, he was sacked 99 times over the past 2 seasons. He's got a good frame for a quarterback, 6'2", 215 pounds. There is plenty of pros when it comes to evaluating Shedeur Sanders. For me, I don't think the pros make him second overall good. I think if you're taking a quarterback that high in the draft, the expectation is, hey, this is an absolute game changer. Like, this is a difference maker for us. And what we're going to do is we're going to use Shedeur Sanders to all of a sudden rejuvenate our entire offense. I am being a doubter, so I guess I'm not going to pussyfoot this. I am being a doubter when I say I don't think Shedeur is talented enough to take the Browns roster and make them good. I think Shedeur is talented enough to go to a team, sit for a year or two, and then if he steps into a good situation with a lot of firepower around him, he can kind of keep his head above water. I think he'll drown in Cleveland. Now, after picking Shedeur at 24, the Browns have to wait all the way until early in round 3, since they no longer have the first pick in round 2, And with pick 67, I would go with Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State. Now, this is a tough one just because you don't know who's going to be available at pick 67. You might have a different preference, like a different Ohio State running back, and he might go 15 spots before that. But I feel loosely confident that Judkins could be there at 67 and that this would be an all-around good pick. He was prolific at Ole Miss. He was first-team All-SEC. He was SEC Freshman of the Year. Then he goes up to Columbus, is a huge part of that Buckeye offense that won the national championship. He's got good size for a back, 6 foot, 221 pounds, ran a nice 40-yard dash. He's a pretty well-rounded back. I don't think he is a back that stands out in one area and really lacks a lot of skill at another area. He definitely has a little bit more of a power side to him than a pure speed side to him. But at pick 67, this felt like a really good pick for the Browns to help bolster up their running back room. And we know Andrew Berry likes going with guys out of Columbus. So, if this were to be the Browns draft, how would you grade it? Abdul Carter and Shedeur Sanders. Both parties are satisfied. Fans that wanted Carter, get him. Fans that want a quarterback, get him. And then I added in a running back because that is a big need for this team right now. How would you grade it? A, B, C, D, or F? Keep in mind, the only real cost here is you don't pick at 33 and you don't pick again in round 3. So Shedeur Sanders does cost you in a way 3 selections. You use the 24th overall pick on him, but you were going to use that pick on someone. So really, in my eyes, he cost you 2 additional picks. 33 and then like 93, whatever the Bills pick is. Before I give you my grade, I do want to tell you guys about the awesome Browns draft hats available at chatsports.com/CLE draft. If you want to get the official Cleveland Browns 2025 NFL draft hat, use our link. I put it in the comments and description of today's video. I would give that draft right there an A-. An A- because I don't have a crystal ball, but I still do not believe Shedeur Sanders is going to be this franchise quarterback that a lot of people want/think he will be. Quarterbacks are always difficult to diagnose and predict. Go ask Chris Sims about that and how well Kellen Moore worked out. But I don't think he's got it. I don't think he's got the franchise quarterback aura around him. So I know a lot of you do. And in this situation, both parties are happy. Andrew Berry gets an incredible player at number 2. Kevin Stefanski gets a new quarterback in the draft. And they toss in a running back because why not? All right, let's round out today's episode by picking a card. Reed, which card do you want to go with?
Ace of clubs.
Ace of clubs. Okay. I'm going to go with Queen of Hearts. I feel dangerously good about this one, too. No. 7 of spades. 7 of spades. Keith almost got it with 7 of hearts. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're going to sign off and see you all later. Mailbag coming up next. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, use hashtag Browns in the chat or super chat like AFX just did, and you skip the line, and we guarantee your question gets on screen for everyone to see. Oh boy, he's him. What should I do with my Deshaun Watson jersey? I've always been frustrated when teams have jerseys with such a short lifespan. Kirk Cousins in Atlanta would be tough. Now, I'm also, I wouldn't say triggered, but you see on Twitter a picture of like someone's bed with all the jerseys they have and all those players are off the team. And it's like, man, my luck. Well, at some point that player is going to be off the team. What do you think an appropriate number of years is for the player to be on the team where the jersey was not a bad purchase?
I don't think there's 2 different thoughts. It could be they play there for 1 year and they're amazing and love the fans love them, and it just like, wow, he was great when he was a Brown. Sort of like Joe Flacco. If you have a Joe Flacco Browns jersey,
I think that's just a bit gimmicky though.
A little bit, but at the same time, like when you think of Saquon Barkley, think of him as an Eagle. He's only played there 1 year. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people think of him as an Eagle now because of how well he did.
Yeah.
So if you play well on the team, I think having the jersey, it's like, oh yeah, that's a good jersey. Even though maybe if they didn't extend him and he's only there for like 2 years or something like that, then yeah. So and then on the other side with years, I think 3.
For how expensive jerseys are, I would say I want the player on the team for 5 years. I think because I don't want to wear a jersey for a player that's no longer on the team. It feels a little silly to me because I know it's expensive. You can't just constantly buy new jerseys, but like going to the game in a Baker Mayfield jersey, it's just like, wow.
So
that's dated.
How long, off the top of both of our heads, how long was Carson Wentz on the Eagles?
He was drafted in 2016, and he was gone after 2020.
Yeah.
So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 5 years.
That's 5 years. I don't know if a lot of people are wearing Carson Wentz jerseys.
Yeah.
Because it's like.
But that was I think back then they were.
Back then, for sure.
Yeah.
But now, when you look back at a Carson Wentz jersey,
right,
when you think of number 11, you think of A.J. Brown.
No, I know, but but what I'm saying is if you showed all your Eagles jerseys and it had a Carson Wentz jersey there, and you'd go, man, how unlucky am I? I'd say, I mean, you got 5 years out of that jersey.
Right.
So that's not that bad of a lifespan for a jersey.
I agree with that.
You can't say, oh, I'm so unlucky. Look at all these jerseys. And it's like, well, yeah, that guy's not there anymore, but he did play 10 seasons there.
But at the same time,
what's the expectation? They play there for the rest of their life?
Going back to He's Him Super Chat, Deshaun Watson has some controversy.
Well, I'm putting this completely aside.
Okay.
I'm just talking about how long is a jersey, how long, if you have a jersey for, does it feel like it was a good purchase? How long does a player have to be on the team for? That's the only question I'm asking. I'm saying 5 years.
I think 5 years is good.
Yeah.
I think you can go down to 4.
4 seems pretty quick because usually what happens is they're on the team. They have a great maybe first year and you get the jersey the next season. You hardly buy a rookie's jersey. And now you've only got it for 3 more years. And maybe that last year they're already like halfway out the door. So you only get like 2 good seasons out of it. I'd go 5.
Well, yeah, you got to think about how many years you're wearing that jersey while they're on the team and how many games that is that you can wear that jersey.
He's Him. What should I do with it? I don't know, dude. I don't have a creative answer for you other than get another one. AFX. Player 456 eliminated. Is this Beast Games? No. Oh, Squid Games? I never watched Squid Games. Yeah, never watched it. No reason why. I just didn't get to it. He's Him. Oh, no, I'm not putting that up there. No.
It can't. It's not going across the screen for some reason. I don't know why software won't let it go across the screen.
Next one. Keith. Oh, AFX again. Apparently, the 4th game is jump rope. Not. Is this more Squid Game? I'm not watching Squid Games. He's Him. This one we can put on screen. I got a Chubb jersey last year too, and now he sucks. That's kind of on you for buying a Nick Chubb jersey coming off a knee injury with 1 year left on his deal. That I'm going to put that on you right there. That was a bad decision by you. Next super chat coming in from Keith. Keith, this was a pre-read. Keith, one time, this was right. Keith, remember, this was like 2 years ago now. We had an incredible super chat battle with Steelers Talk. And Steelers Talk put up like, let's say $600 the day before. And we were like $400 short, and we were about to just surrender. And then Keith came in with a $500 super chat for the win. It was one of the greatest moments for me at Chat Sports. Change Watson to Dawson. I wish that teams would go, hey, bring your jersey back, and for $20 we can change the nameplate. Change the nameplate. You're kind of stuck with the number, but we can get whoever wears that number now, you can have that player's jersey. But yeah, good point. Good point, Keith. We get a few more super chats coming in here, so we'll get to both these, and then we will check out whatever questions you guys have for our mailbag. Dolphins. So what about a Peyton Hillis jersey? I'd rock it. So when it comes to jerseys like this, I view them as college darty jerseys, where when you see one at the bar, you're like, oh, that's a cool jersey. Like, that guy's a real fan because he didn't get a basic quarterback jersey. And while I do like those jerseys, I feel like there are like party jerseys, which is like, oh, kind of a gimmicky, like you don't see this very often. And then there's, hey, this is my like, I'm going to work right now. Like I'm going to the game not to be a hooligan, but to really be at my second job. And those games, I like to have a second jersey guy, which is not a quarterback because everyone already has the quarterback jersey. But like I had an Amari Cooper jersey for 2 years. That felt like, oh, this guy kind of knows ball still, and it's not a gimmicky jersey.
So who on the Browns right now would be
A
that type of jersey?
a second jersey guy?
Yeah.
I think Denzel Ward.
Ooh.
Right? You don't see a ton of Denzel Ward jerseys. I also always evaluate the jersey based on the number. If they've got a number I don't like, I don't want to wear that jersey. I don't like the number 3 or 13 on jerseys. So I'm never going to wear someone who has 3 or 13. Dolphin, appreciate the super chat. Let's run through the other ones. Joshua Miller, like Josh is like a, holy crap, is that a Cade York jersey? If I saw Josh in the wild, I'd go up and shake his hand. I'd actually offer to pay for his meal. I'd be like, the fact that you bought a Cade York jersey, I just want to sit down and talk football with you because you clearly know what's up. AFX, eliminated. Deuces. He's him. I got Chubb pre-injury. Okay, you said last year. So Garrett and Jim Brown too. I've got 2 out of these 3. I've got Jim Brown and Chubb and then a Cooper. So I need a new jersey for week 1. Do I if the Browns take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, I might have to get one of those 2 jerseys, depending on what number they pick. I think, we have Soul Train. How much did the bad O-line scheme hurt the run game? We were talking like just jersey BS, and here's Soul Train with a very thoughtful question. I think a lot based on the fact that after the season was over, we learned Mike Vrabel was more or less the offensive line coach, and Andy Dickerson was fired after 1 season. So there's probably a good amount of blame that can go on the coaching staff, the offensive line getting older, regressing, and a lot of injuries. All that together, definitely a bad picture, but a lot of the pie goes to Andy Dickerson being a completely ineffective offensive line coach. He's him. Jim Brown is eternal. Can I get a Petey jersey? I know there are Raiders guy and our Steelers guy. I guess everyone for this matter, but no one's ever done this on the Browns channel. If you send in a $500 super chat, which I don't expect he's him to do, we order a jersey, we put your name on it, and then we wear it on the show. So Raiders fans have done that a ton, and some Steelers fans as well, and then one Dolphins fan. I think that might be it. I don't know if anyone else has done the custom jersey. But he's him. I would do a custom he's him jersey for you. Dolphin X with a $5 super. Never can go wrong with a Garrett jersey. Try saying that a month ago. So, funny story. In November, December, we had a watch party. He's him's about to get triggered. And the winner won a Myles Garrett jersey. And I always ask people to email me, right? That's pretty consistent. This person Twitter DM'd me. And so I didn't see it for a while. And then on Mondays, I always fill out the forms we need to order the jerseys by going through my email. I didn't go through my Twitter DMs. And so like a month later, he reached out to me and was like, I never got my jersey. I'm like, oh, crap. That's because I never got the ball rolling on this. So I was like, don't worry. I'm going to start the process right now. That was literally 2 weeks or so before Myles Garrett requested the trade. And then I felt so bad. And then I felt so relieved once he signed that extension. Because in between the request and the extension, the jersey had arrived and I mailed it out to him. So big sigh of relief here. Okay, we've got Roy. Roy from good old Germany. Guten Tag. Due to worst kicker season 2024, what about Dustin Hopkins? They gave him that 3-year extension before the season began. I think with how bad last year was, he almost got off the hook because he did cost them games, like the Saints game. It was not the biggest issue at the front of everyone's mind, but it was a big problem. I think they just go, all right, we're going to pretend like that never happened because even if you were good last year, we were still going to suck. Maybe we go 4 wins instead of 3 wins, but you are by far not our number one problem. So we're going to give you the whole offseason to figure it out because we don't want to pay another kicker after just paying you. Joshua Miller, my next jersey will be whoever our number 2 pick is. Like, I'm with you as long as they also have a good number choice. If it's Abdul Carter and he goes like number 99, done. What does Travis Hunter wear? I think he wore 12. I would not do 12 for a receiver corner. But if he comes out in a cool number, I'm in.
Is 11 available or no?
I think 11 was James Prochet. I don't remember.
Because if
let's take a look.
If Carter gets 11,
no, James Prochet was 19, I think.
If Carter gets 11, that'd be sick.
Who's number 11? Where to find out? It is available. 12 is also going to be available. That's Rodney McLeod's old number. 11 I could fuck with. All right, let's get into our mailbag since we've already done like half of it right now. He's him. Oh, we got here. Let's start the mailbag right now with Austin's.
Yeah,
Austin,
and then I think we talked about it already, but because you talked about the Donovan Peoples-Jones, right?
No, I haven't talked about it. I said I was going to talk about it in the mailbag.
Oh, okay. That's yes, Austin. Because he retracted his message.
Okay.
He was asking. He was like, why haven't we hit our super chat? And then he's like, wait, are we hitting in the mailbag?
Yeah.
And then he just retracted.
Okay, so let's start the mailbag right here, and then he's him. We'll get to your super chat after the mailbag because it's not really a mailbag question. I don't like 12 for anyone that's not a quarterback. 12 is a quarterback number. That's Brady. That's Rodgers. That's not a corner or a receiver. All right, here we go. Welcome on into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here answering questions that came in during our mailbag, which airs every single Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. First question coming in from Austin. Hi, Petey. Let's go Abdul Carter and Kirk Cousins. Also, could Donovan Peoples-Jones be an option for the Browns at receiver? Bring back DPJ? Man, remember, this is a real conversation that happened. People were talking about keeping DPJ over DeAndre Hopkins that summer. And I remember doing a video, I was like, stop it. Get some help. It's DeAndre Hopkins. Come on. No, I think DPJ might be out of the league. Like, he might get a August signing or something if an injury happens, but he was non-existent for Detroit the last 2 years. I don't think the Browns are going to bring him back. Austin, appreciate the question, though. Dolphin X, do you like the idea of the Browns drafting Carter at 2 and then us trading our round 2 pick to move up a few spots to get Shedeur Sanders? We did a whole video about this and what it would cost, so I invite anyone to go watch that video on the channel for more in-depth analysis on it. But surface level, I'm open to the idea. I'm not going to all of a sudden make a complete 180 and go like, oh, I've always liked Shedeur Sanders a lot as a prospect. No, I still don't think he's going to be a franchise quarterback for a team, and I really don't think that's going to happen in Cleveland because I think he needs to go to a situation where he can sit and develop for a year or two and then step into a good spot. And right now, the Browns offense is not in a good spot for a quarterback who I don't think has enough tools to elevate everyone around him. So I'm open to it because I still get Abdul Carter out of this situation, and it likely cost you your second and your third round draft pick, and those 2 picks might be worth the flyer on Shedeur Sanders. So I'd grade it at like an A-, mostly because of what Abdul Carter can do for you at number 2. Soul Train, how much did the bad O-line / scheme hurt the run game? I'd say a lot. Remember after the year was over, it came out that Mike Vrabel was more or less the de facto offensive line coach for the team. Andy Dickerson was fired. He was a one and done. And while there were a lot of injuries up front and the offensive line was just getting a bit older and kind of regressing at some places, the coaching and everything around that was under the microscope and fingerprints of Andy Dickerson was turned to dust. So I'm choosing and willing to believe that a lot of the blame can be placed right there. Laserbeam, should the Browns draft Caleb Johnson even if Chubb is brought back? We can do the Hunt and Chubb experiment again. Yes. Caleb Johnson is my number 2 running back in this class after, of course, this guy from Boise State. But I'd say regardless of what happens with Nick Chubb, I would like to see Caleb Johnson in a Browns uniform. I just think he's going to be a tremendous back. I don't want to say he reminds me of Nick Chubb because it's a very high bar, but I think his play style might be in between Chubb and like David Montgomery. Whereas like Montgomery is definitely a bit of a bowling ball type back, and while Chubb is not some like speed demon, he's got good getaway speed when he gets loose. Johnson probably does not have that level of getaway speed, and that's what puts him in between the two. But I like the idea a lot of the Browns drafting Caleb Johnson. Icy up. Browns calling the Pats for Joe Milton. So I did see a report that the Patriots had gotten some phone calls regarding Joe Milton. I don't think the Browns are going to be one of the teams inquiring about Milton. They already traded for one quarterback. If they wanted Joe Milton, why would they have traded for Kenny Pickett? Why wouldn't you just trade it for Joe Milton, right? It could be one of two things. One, they don't think Milton is their guy. Two, the Patriots have too high of an asking price. I don't see why that asking price would go down. I don't think the Patriots are trying hard to move on from Joe Milton. It's a valuable position to say the least. You don't know if he could be the next Brock Purdy for your team. What if Drake May gets injured and Joe Milton comes in and the rest is history? And you flipped him for a 6-rounder? So, because of the Browns already trading for Kenny Pickett, and if the Patriots do have too high of an asking price, I don't think this one has a real chance of happening. Now, let's name a random Browns quarterback. It's always fun to do this one here. We've done it a handful of times on the show. So, I'm going to count down. No, I'm going to give you my answer at the end of the video. Let's see if you and I say the same quarterback. All right, moving on to our next mailbag question. Jeep Wolf. So how many quarterbacks will we need this season how many quarterbacks will we need this season and any other position spots that need addressed? Well, I mean, I think the Browns are going to add 3 more quarterbacks to this roster. I think they're going to add 2 in the draft and 1 more in free agency or trade, like a trade for Kirk Cousins, for example. I don't think they're going to go into training camp with only 3 healthy quarterbacks. Forget Deshaun Watson. He is not playing for this team all season long. He is still recovering from his Achilles injury. He is not going to be a part of the off-season workouts or anything like that. So I think the Browns are going to add at least 2 more quarterbacks, but I think they're really going to add 3 more. As for other position spots, I think tackle is still one. We have not seen DeJuan Jones finish a season. So I don't have a ton of faith in him being this team's long-term solution at left tackle. I don't think it's a bad idea to bring in a new left tackle and let that guy and Jones duke it out for the starting role. Running back, of course, I think you need a new backup tight end. Plus, if you don't plan on giving Njoku a contract extension, you're going to need an Njoku replacement in a couple of months when 2025 is over with. On defense, depending on what JOK status is, you might want another linebacker, but you've already added a few so far in the offseason and as of late. Safety is another position. You lost Rodney McLeod to retirement. DeAnthony Bell signed with the Seahawks. That leaves Ronnie Hickman and Grant Delpit, of guys who served a meaningful role last year coming back for this season. So there are a couple of positions right there for you. Kevin, rather than trading up from 33 and losing a 3rd-round pick, would it be better to pass on Carter and trade down to still get a solid 1st-round pick and add additional 2nd and 3rd-round picks? So Kevin's referencing this trade idea that I cooked up in which the Browns go from 33 to 24 and get Shedeur Sanders if he begins to slide in the draft. I would rather stay put at 2 and take Carter than get a few more draft picks. The only thing that's going to move me off of this is if you can get a 1st-round pick next year and you're getting it from a team you think is going to stink. If you can get like the Raiders or the Jets, right? Someone who's picking top 10 that you feel like could be an early 1st-round pick next year to jump all the way up, I'm willing to play ball. I don't think you're going to get anyone calling for the number 2 pick. I just don't think it's a draft class where teams are, climbing up the board to try and get their number 1 guy. So would I do it? Adding more picks always sounds fun. I'd rather stay put and take the more surefire thing than a couple of possibilities. Roy, due to worst kicker season in 2024, what about Dustin Hopkins? I think the Browns are probably just going to have this mindset of, listen, last year a lot went wrong, and you're not off the hook for it, but we've got bigger fish to fry than the kicker. So take the next couple of months to figure your shit out, and we look forward to 2023 Hopkins coming out in 2025. Thomas, PD scenario for you. 4th, 6th, and next year 3rd for Brandon Ayuk. Sign Ryan Tannehill off the couch. Draft Abdul Carter. 2nd round, I think you mean a Mecca Ibuka. 3rd round, Josh Simmons and Kyle McCord. 4th round, Travion Henderson. All right, let's go bit by bit here. 4th, 6th, and next year 3rd for Ayuk. Sounds like the Niners are not interested in trading Ayuk. They also, on April 1st, got on the hook for like $20+ million in guarantees. So if there was a time to trade him, it would have been before then. Now, the offer has to go up since they are owing him more money and he wouldn't even be on their team. So that, to me, would not be enough. As for signing Ryan Tannehill, there's been some level of traction around that. I'd probably rather just go with Carson Wentz. Tannehill was bad 2 years ago, and he's been off for a full season. So, while I do think like Ryan Tannehill, when at a good level, would be a great fit for the Browns, I think the last couple of years in Tennessee are a better reflection as to who he is now as a quarterback. Abdul Carter at 2, check. Emeka Buka at pick 33. I just don't think receiver is that pressing of a need for a team that's still looking for their quarterback. So I'd probably rather go a different direction. But you're still getting a good player out of it, so I won't be too upset overall. 3rd round, Josh Simmons. I like that. His recovery has been remarkable. And Kyle McCord, sure thing. I don't think Travion Henderson gets past round 3, but if he's there in round 4, yeah, I'm in. Christopher, what's the point we get an old QB and lose rather than getting a young QB and learn while losing? Great question, Christopher. The difference is, on one scenario, you have a very good player for the future in Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. In the other scenario, you're losing and you don't have a cornerstone piece for the future in Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. So yes, if you win 5 games with Kirk Cousins versus 5 games with Shedeur Sanders, I'd rather lose 5 games with Shedeur Sanders because at least he has a future in this league beyond 1 or 2 seasons. But you are excluding in the Kirk Cousins side, this guy named Abdul Carter is on the team as well, and he's going to be really good for us. Myles Garrett won how many games his rookie year? And I'd still think that was a very good draft pick. So you can't forget that part of the equation. Duck Life Official, which QB in this year's draft will have the worst career? I'm going to go with Jackson Dart. And the reason why I say that is because I don't think Will Howard or Kyle McCord will ever actually get a full look as a team starter from week 1. They'll probably start some games at some point. Like, an injury is going to happen, right? Or a benching might happen. But I think Jackson Dart could be looked at as, hey, we're going to make you our week 1 starter. And between him, Shedeur, and Ward, that's probably going to go the worst for him. Next question coming in. Josh, I look at the number 2 pick this way. Who has the best chance of being a multiple-time Pro Bowler or All-Pro? To me, that's Abdul Carter. Yes. Preach it from the mountaintops. Would it be nice or great if it was a quarterback? It'd be splendid. But it's not there. So I'm not going to force it. Josh, completely agree with this. Dylan, what's going on, dude? What are your thoughts on Quinn Ewers? He's got really good arm talent, huge prospect coming out of Texas high school. We obviously know goes to Ohio State for the NIL money. Then he comes to, Texas to play for the school he wanted to play for all along. I felt like Quinn Ewers last year had really good games in some of their biggest moments. Like when they went to Michigan, he was outstanding. When they went to, they had a road. He had some bad games too, don't get me wrong. But I think the knock for Ewers is the lack of health. Back-to-back seasons where he has missed considerable amount of time and the inconsistency. But knowing the arm strength and the ceiling, I wouldn't hate that 2nd, 3rd round pick being used on him. For reference, that kind of pick was used on Siaka Ika. So it's not like you're guaranteed this bona fide starter at that spot anyway. And if Siaka Ika or Quinn Ewers pans out more, which one would you rather have? The quarterback or the big fatty? I would take the quarterback. Jake Heat, does the location of stadium and its roof matter to anyone if the team is winning? Precisely. If the Browns are winning, No one for a 4-0 Browns team is going to show up to the game going, we should be playing by the lake right now. Now, the flip side is that the Browns are losing for how much it costs some of the fans and whatnot, like season ticket holders, to keep their season tickets, move to the suburbs, and continue to watch a bad product. That's going to be tough. Kathy Sidlecki, if you are the Bears, would you trade picks with the Browns? Probably not, no. I think the Bears have made, well, they do have a lot of picks this year. Like, they've got pick number 10. They have 2 second-round draft picks, their own second-round draft pick and the Panthers' second-round draft pick. But I think actually, I'll back that up. If the Bears could really get up to number 2 and get Abdul Carter, I think they would do that. It would probably cost them both their second-rounders and maybe a first next year, and that feels steep. But jumping from 10 to 2, like when the Niners went from 12 to 3 to get Trey Lance, it cost them 3 first-round draft picks. So 2 seconds and a first from 10 to 2, that might be the going rate. And Abdul Carter might be worth that. So if you were the Bears, would I do that trade? Probably not, because I still think that they could build a really good roster with 3 more picks for a team that needs a lot of good players and not one great player. Jeremy, nuts and bolts, just a $50 super chat we got during our live show. Shout out to Mr. Stallman for being a huge supporter of the channel. Appreciate you, Jeremy. All right, let's wrap it all up here by picking a card. Mr. Reed, which card do you want to go with?
Let's see. How about 2 of clubs?
2 of clubs. I'm going to go with, give me 8 of diamonds. No. 4 of clubs. 4 of clubs. No one got it right in the chat. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. If you haven't yet, hit the like button on your way out. And if you're still watching, drop a CLE for me in the comment section. You know I love the end of the video, crew. All right. I think we had 1 or 2 super chats come in. Okay, let's recap all the supers. And then we can, oh gosh, he's him. He's going on a run right now. Okay, yes. What's your most embarrassing childhood memory? I would say when I was 5 years old, my family moved to Tokyo, Japan. We lived there for 5 years, and I wet the bed when I was 5 in Japan, and I was adamant that someone was coming into my room and putting a hose in my bed. And I remember telling my mom, the guy with the hose moved to Tokyo too. And she was such a good sport about it. And looking back, what a stupid theory that was. And then I got older and everyone would make fun of me for the hose man. Yeah.
Tokyo too.
Because I was like,
He's following me.
I was like, I don't get it. I didn't I think there's someone with a hose. And my mom's like, oh my gosh, we gotta check out. And I was like, he moved here. So looking back, that was pretty dumb. Phil Dawson jersey would be cool. Pete lazy eye. Do I have a lazy eye? I don't have a lazy eye. One of my friends has a lazy eye. But I will say you might think I have a lazy eye just because right now I'm talking to a camera in kind of like an empty-ish room. And the monitor with all the information is right below it. So I try and juggle looking at the camera to look at you, but also looking at the monitor so I can read what's on screen.
Yeah, it's not necessarily lazy eye. It's your eyes are looking in 2 different spots, kind of.
Maybe that's like a good talent.
Maybe.
Yeah. Next one. Let's sign Josh Gordon. There's nothing better than scrolling on like social media late at night and you just come across Josh Gordon highlights and it's got like the perfect kind of like music to it. What's that one song? Don't let it burn. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you're like, damn, it's all coming back to me right now. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. Is that what it is? I don't know any of those song names. He's him. I got a Cavs jersey. Pardon? Oh, see, good music trivia right there. With the name Black Lives Matter. One of my favorite. Favorite's a strong word. Like funniest memes that I can't find anymore is when the NBA was in the bubble. There was, you remember when they were in the bubble in Disney and players put where their name would go things like Black Lives Matter or equality, or just something from that general sphere. And there was a moment of someone with the name Black Lives Matter on the back going up for a layup, and then someone whose last name was White blocking the layup, and it was just like you couldn't have scripted it any more ironic than that. Next one, AFX, Vontae Mack or Bo Callahan. It's got to be. I can't wait to rewatch Draft Day. It's coming up too.
It is.
It's
they know
3 weeks from today. I'm watching it.
So they know. Netflix knows exactly what they're doing because it is currently on Netflix. It just got on Netflix, right?
Every single Wednesday before the NFL draft, I rewatch Draft Day. And every single time, I find a ridiculous plot hole. Last time, I really picked up on the travel. Just Sonny Weaver's commute around town didn't make sense. And then the owner going from New York to Cleveland, by the time the first pick was announced and getting to the war room, I think around pick 7 or 8 was literally impossible. Okay. Are we all caught up on supers? No. But the answer would be Vontae Mack. I really wish they did a Draft Day 2 and we could see how some of those players kind of panned out a little bit. Yeah. Have you seen the Mr. Hands video? I have not. Have you, Reed? Okay, I don't know what this is either. No. That is all the super chats. So, thank you all so much for tuning in for our live show today. Greatly appreciate the weekly support, the usual suspect show when it comes to our Wednesday live shows in the afternoon. I'm going to let you guys get on with the rest of your day. I'll sign off and see everyone tomorrow.